President al-Assad issues a decree granting general pardon for the crimes committed before April 16, 2013. Under President al-Assad's patronage, the high-watt transformation station to serve the southern region has opened at Qudsiya suburbs expansion neighborhood at a cost of 2 billion Syrian pounds. Scores are killed or wounded in blasts in the American city of Boston. The crimes committed before April 16, 2020. According to the decree, death penalty will be substituted by life imprisonment with hard labor or life imprisonment only. Life imprisonment with hard labor will be replaced by temporary hard labor for 20 years. Life imprisonment will be substituted by temporary imprisonment of 20 years. Full pardon is given to prisoners inflicted with incurable diseases or those who are 70 years old if their crimes were committed before they completed 60. Arms smugglers and drugs traffickers are excluded from this pardon, as well as fugitives and deserters, unless the latter turn themselves in 30 days for internal desertion or defection, or 90 days for external desertion or defection. Minister of Justice Dr. Najm Mohammed Al-Ahmad said, "This decree of general pardon is the most comprehensive decree of its kind, as it involves pardon for the greatest majority of crimes of various types and degrees, starting with death sentences and felonies and ending with misdemeanors and simple irregularities." The Minister of Justice said, "The decree has granted every fugitive or deserter the chance to be pardoned after turning himself in." Under the patronage of President Bashar al-Assad and on the occasion of the 67th anniversary of Syria's Independence Day, Prime Minister Wael al-Halaqi opens the high-voltage transformation station to serve the southern region in Qudsiya suburbs expansion neighborhood.
As the government continues to accord remarkable attention to electricity projects within the framework of its future plans, Prime Minister Dr. Wael al-Halaqi has opened the high-voltage station to serve the southern region with a capacity of 250 megawatts ampere and at a cost of 2 billion Syrian pounds in Qudsiya suburbs expansion neighborhood. Al-Halaqi underlined the importance of this project in bolstering comprehensive development and meeting its needs of power energy. He affirmed the government's efforts in supporting the construction march and improving the services situation in all governorates. He referred to other stations to be opened in the course of this year to meet the development needs. The station is considered as an important part of the electricity system, particularly in the southern region, intended to feed the youth's housing complex, the housing societies, the touristic installations and other facilities in the area. The station is considered as one of the 230 kilowatt transformation stations in the southern region, numbering 21.
Head of the Popular Front for Liberation and Change, Dr. Qadri Jamil, has said in a press conference in Moscow that the trend to solve the crisis in Syria peacefully is quite wide and overwhelming. He described the meeting with the Russian foreign minister as very important, during which the prospects for a solution to the crisis were discussed. Jamil said, "The crisis has reached a very important turning point that requires opening the way before the table of dialogue immediately." Member of the Popular Front for Liberation and Change, Dr. Ali Haidar, said, The Syrian people can find their way out of the crisis and can realize their legal demands through dialogue. Dr. Haidar said the majority in Syria are convinced that the conflict would cause everybody to lose, and consequently national dialogue is the only safe way out of the crisis. Earlier, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has met with the Popular Front for Liberation and Change delegation comprising Dr. Ali Haidar, Mr. Adel Al-Aisi and Dr. Qadri Jamil, Secretary of the Popular Will Party, the head of the delegation. Syrian Arab army units killed many terrorists and injured others in a series of operations that took place in Jobar and Harasta in Damascus countryside. Units of the Syrian Arab army clashed with terrorist groups at Hamama bus stop and in the northern and eastern parts of Jobar, killing many terrorists. Another Syrian Arab army unit chased a terrorist group at the Red Crescent building in Harasta, killing 3 terrorists and destroying a vehicle at the checkpoint of Al-Naql. Meanwhile, a unit of the Syrian Arab army ambushed a terrorist group that was committing acts of killing and plundering near Al-Iman Mosque in Harasta, killing most of the terrorists and injuring the rest of them. Our armed forces have continued to perform their national tasks in clearing Idlib of the terrorists who had wreaked havoc in the governorate. They targeted terrorist gatherings in Marand, Kinda, Qatroun, Haj Hamoud Farm, Bshalamon in Jisr al-Shughur suburbs, Amar al-Jamali Farms, Ma'arrat Masreen and Wadi al-Mahamil, killing and wounding a number of terrorists. The army engineering units also dismantled 2 explosive devices, the first weighing 50 kilograms and the second 20 kilograms, which were planted by terrorists on Ariha al-Mastuma road. On the other hand, an armed conflict between Jabhat al-Nusra and another armed terrorist group resulted in killing a number of terrorists. Among them, terrorist Ismail Arabi, leader of the so-called Arabi battalion linked to Saif al-Islam brigade, was identified together with several members of this group. In Hom's countryside, the Syrian Arab army units destroyed a hideout of an armed terrorist group in Al-Rastan, killing all terrorists inside, including Abdurrahman al-Yusuf, leader of the so-called terrorist group God's Men. The Syrian TV correspondent in Al-Raqqa toured Al-Raqqa countryside accompanied by Syrian Arab army soldiers, telling us about the situation there. Syrian TV headed towards the city of At-Tabaqa, which suffered from the terrorism of al-Nusra, and reached Aid al-Kabir, where Syrian Arab army units maintained presence and conducted surprise clashes with the terrorists, destroying their vehicles, which were equipped with machine guns, and killing great numbers of them. Syrian Arab army also ambushed other terrorist groups and eliminated them. In Lebanon, residents of the Syrian-Lebanese border villages call upon the Lebanese government and army to interfere in order to protect the borders and to stop the smuggling of weapons and the infiltration of terrorists into Syria. The appeal of the border villages came after 3 citizens were killed in the village of Al-Qasr by a rocket which was launched into the area by the armed terrorist groups affiliated to al-Nusra Front. Massachusetts State Police said that the explosion at Boston Marathon yesterday killed 3 people and injured more than 140 others. The 2 bombs exploded in the crowded street near the finish line of the Boston Marathon. The twin blasts took place about 10 seconds and about 90 meters apart, knocking spectators and runners off their feet. Massachusetts State Police searched an apartment in the Boston suburb of Revere, and the incident put the nation on alert as cities stepped up their security. Both the White House and Senate observed a moment of silence. Earlier, President Barack Obama spoke from the White House and offered his condolences to the victims, asserting that investigation was underway to know the perpetrators. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Nariman Qassam after a short break.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Bassam Hanna, and the representative of the UNICEF in Syria, Youssef Abdel Jalil, signed an action plan to support the water sector in Syria with more than $9 million. The action plan is about rehabilitating the water and sanitation systems in the cities in order to provide safe water and sanitation for all people affected by the current situation and repairing the main infrastructure in all regions in Syria. Hanna also declared that the plan has been achieved after a series of quantitative and technical meetings with the UNICEF's representatives as well as visits to the governorates in order to activate the plan to help the ministry in providing water to all citizens. The Minister of Economy and Foreign Trade issued a decree to prevent the exporting of frozen chickens by the private and public sectors. The minister said that this decree aims at providing chickens in the local market. He added that the Economic Committee agreed on importing about 25 tons of frozen chicken. The Planning and International Cooperation Establishment called on the state ministries to implement the National Quality Programme approved by the Ministers' Council in order to develop and adapt the infrastructure of quality system according to the international standards. The establishment also highlighted the aim of this document in creating the suitable environment for quality through issuing and reviewing legislations related to specifications and standards while evaluating and monitoring the market and safety by issuing legislations that control the measuring procedures. Futures of the U.S. crude oil were down below $1 under the pressure of selling raw materials as the futures of the Brent crude also dropped more than $2 per barrel, falling below $99 in 9 months. European shares dropped for a third day before a report that may show German investors' confidence declined. Asian shares retreated while the US index futures indicated a rebound from the biggest drop in 5 months. On the other hand, the Nikkei index fell 2.03% after a decline in the US shares, which witnessed their worst day in 5 months. In the local market, the Jewelers Assembly set the price of the 21-carat gold at 4,800 Syrian pounds per gram, while the Rashadi golden coin was set at 35,000 Syrian pounds and the English coin was 39,200 Syrian pounds. The yen and the US dollar weakened as a recovery in the gold and the US stock futures damped the demand for the safest currencies. The yen dropped at least 0.9% against all of its 16 major counterparts as investors bet its rally yesterday, which was excessive. The US dollar fell before a US report showed that economists said they will show contained inflation. Ladies and gentlemen, this was our economic news for today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.